to the SNR 411 podcast. I'm here with my co-host, President-elect Sam Olson.
And I'm here with my co-host, your president, Garrett Lepire, and also the Chief Operating Officer of Core Titles, Sylvia Smith-Turk.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Having me, of course.
So Sylvia's here to talk to us today about FinCEN. And first, let's start with what the heck is FinCEN?
FinCEN is the financial crimes network. They were appointed, created by the U.S. Treasury Department, and their basic function is money laundering. But they work for the
Stopping
money laundering. Yeah, stop
Okay.
money laundering. Yes, the IRS, FDIC, DEA, ICE, the SEC. They're like the storage place where all of these policing entities go when they're researching and trying to track down money, dirty money that becomes clean money.
I had just heard, if I can just interject here, I had just recently heard that real estate and fine art are the two largest ways to launder money in the U.S. Yeah. And so what we're going to talk about today is ways to kind of circumvent that a little so there's less money laundering, less bad actors in our industries.
Yes.
Wonderful.
And we have to keep in mind, too, that while all of this may seem it is a burden to the industry for sure, but we all just have to step back and remember that we're stopping sex trafficking, drug trafficking, all of those things. So for us, I asked for a badge, but we're not going to get one. So we just have to know we're doing something for the larger cause.
That's fantastic. Back in 2018, 2019, the New York Times ran an article, and they said that every luxury sale, 80% of them were bought by a shell company, by a foreign shell company. And the gist of the article was talking about how many of those 80% of those sales was money laundering. Yeah, people never living in the units, never doing anything, just buying high-priced real estate in New York City to launder the money through. So that's a big reason why FinCEN falls into our industry, is because it becomes a place where money launderers park their money. So when is this all going down? When is this happening?
It goes into effect March 1st. Anything closing on or after March 1st. Really be March 2nd because the 1st is Sunday. But yes. So any closing, if you have something pending now that would require the reporting, you'll get busy next week on getting forms and information.
Is it really going to happen on March 1st this time?
Yes, since it's
2 or 3
7 days. Yeah, 7 days away. They actually only did one extension. The rule was completed in August of 24.
Okay.
With an effective date of 12/1 of 25, and they did extend that to March 1st.
Okay.
But they did that in September of 25, so I'm pretty sure nothing's going to change between now and then.
Okay. What kind of changes can we look forward to as an industry? And I imagine this is going to fall pretty heavily on our title reps.
Yes.
Yes. What can we look forward to starting March 2nd?
Created what they call a cascade of reporting, and the settlement agent title company is number one. We got the dubious luxury of being top of the list, and then it can cascade down from there. But generally, I'm going to guess the bulk of it will be whoever does the settlement and handles the money in and out will be responsible. For the agents, and first, let's back up. This only applies on cash purchases. There is no dollar limit, so it can be anywhere from $5,000 to $5 million. It's a cash purchase by an entity or a trust.
Okay.
With no financing.
Does that include a family trust? I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay.
It would. And the family trust on the buyer side is fairly simple as long as, like, if it were my trust, I just have to put in the information to get to me individually. That's the whole purpose of this would be a LLC, corporation, trust. You've got to get the information down to a human, down to flesh and blood. That's what they're after. So if you have a multi-layered LLC, then you're going to keep completing information. If it's a single member or a family trust,
Okay.
it's simple, but you still have to report it.
And those documents won't be available to us realtors, correct?
No.
So that will come from the title
Yes.
company.
And honestly, you really would not want the information. We don't want the information because it's a lot of NPI, non-public personal information. It's well beyond the scope of what we would normally ever ask for when an LLC is purchasing, and we're required to keep that info for 5 years and keep it safe. So if I were a realtor, I would not. I would be like, nope, here you go. I know, like, our company, we're going to push the forms through a secure portal, and we're going to ask that they be completed there because it's all secure. Like, if you come in, we can sit together at the table and we can manually do a form. But what we don't want, and I would highly recommend that if you're in a transaction, someone asks you, here's a PDF, fill it out and email it back, I would be like, no, because that is not secure.
Yep.
Through email.
Would it be safe to say, and I've been a big advocate for this, you open up an escrow with a title company, any title company, they send you a seller or buyer information sheet, depending on who your client is. And one of the things they ask is social security number.
Correct.
I don't ever want to touch that. That ain't coming through my email inbox. If someone gets into my email, they're not getting my client's social security number. So I always direct my escrow officers to, here's my client's phone number, here's their email,
Right.
collect any information you want.
So direct.
This would be the same kind of thing. You don't touch this paperwork, let the title company take care of it.
Yeah, because the information goes deeper. And the other thing with this is it's not only the buyer. So if a transaction is deemed to be reportable, we need basic information on the seller. That's why you would want something in your agreement, because both sides have to cooperate. And for the seller, it's pretty simple: name, forwarding address, no PO boxes are allowed. Their date of birth, tax ID, social security, whatever they're doing, and citizenship are all asked for.
Wow.
On the seller end.
Okay. So let me throw a hypothetical situation out. I have a listing. I get a cash offer, full price. They want to close in 2 weeks, and they're buying it through their LLC. Can we close in 2 weeks?
Yes. As long as the buyer has all their documents on the LLC. Where I think we would see delays are going to be if we're a day before closing, and this happens a lot. Oh, wait, we're working on an LLC and we want to buy it under the LLC. That could be delays unless they're really, really good and they have a good attorney, and then they can have all their information.
Could you see a delay period when the buyer gets this stack of paper that they need to fill out, and they're like, oh man, I got to dig through this and get some information? Is it that onerous, or is it?
Again, depending on the layers of the LLC, if it's a single member LLC, or, husband, wife, or two partners that have created, I don't think it should be too bad. They will need the operating agreement, because we have to go from who's signing. Is that the same as the beneficial owner of whatever the entity? If they're one and the same, then it should be fairly, I don't want to use simple, but yes, simple.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, you brought up beneficial owner. So it sounds like it's not just trying to reduce this down to a person, like a registered agent. You're trying to reduce this down to the human who ultimately controls
Yes,
the property.
that's correct.
Okay, that's going to be
controls the entity. Yes.
wild in New York with all those big, tall, skinny, ugly buildings that nobody lives in.
I think we shouldn't be too bad other than just getting people used to, hey, you have to, or we can't close. But in some of the larger cities, yes, because a lot of the large areas have been subject to the geographical targeting orders. Those started when FinCEN identified real estate as kind of a quick, easy way to move large amounts of cash, dirty money, clean money out. And they started the geographical targeting orders. We in Reno, Northern Nevada, we've not been subject to them. Las Vegas has. But it had to be 300,000 or more.
Yeah.
Where with this, it's everywhere, everything, including nonprofits. So there are no carve outs in this.
Wow. Does this affect both residential and commercial real estate?
Commercial will only be if it's, say you have a dual use, you have a store with an apartment above it, then that would be reportable. If it's commercial and it's apartment buildings that are 1 to 4 family or condos, that would be reportable.
Okay. But if I was going to buy an office building through an LLC, I wouldn't have to deal with
No.
FinCEN.
No FinCEN.
Interesting.
Before we jump back into the conversation, we want to take a quick moment to thank our amazing sponsors over at Country Financial. Their support helps make this podcast possible and allows us to keep bringing you the valuable content you deserve every episode.
But what else do you think is important for people to know about FinCEN?
Just really knowing that when your title company asks for it, that we're not just, it's not just a, say for us, a core title thing, that it's across the board and it hits all of us. I think I would want to be aware that if you felt like, oh, I'm going to try to help my buddy out here, and we're going to buy it individually, and then we'll go down and record the deed into an LLC. Whoever records that deed into the entity is now responsible for reporting. I can tell you, like our industry, we will not do that as an accommodation. The only time we may help with that now would be if I purchased individually and wanted a deed to my own trust for no consideration. That's exempt. But going from individuals to an NAD is not exempt. So whoever records that or prepares it then takes on the liability of reporting.
Interesting. Goodness, I'm so happy that we have our friends at Core Title to help us through this, and you're here to help us explain. And also, you're a Sapphire sponsor of the association, and your support of not just this program, but of the association as a whole is incredibly impactful when you bring this wealth of knowledge and support of all of our members and our entire industry. And I just wanted to say thank you for being a Sapphire sponsor of Sierra Nevada Realtors.
I had the pleasure of sitting on the Legislative Government Affairs Committee they always ask how long. It's like, I honestly couldn't tell.
Who was governor?
Oh, gosh, I couldn't even tell you. I've probably been on with George Peake for like a long time back.
Yep. George has got some years under his belt and lots of experience. George has been a great one for the association.
It's always fun to kind of bring the land title piece because there's so many laws and things that happen that the realtors sometimes don't think about. You know, we have been instrumental for a long time with helping. We try to be the education piece with the Land Title Association. I'm active with Nevada and on a national with the American Land Title, and try to just be the educational piece that it's like, okay, you can do this, but if you do, guess what? We can't insure, and if we can't insure, then you may have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you can't get a mortgage.
Yes, it's true. It's true. So that's something I think I want to make really clear to our listeners. Yeah, who hopefully are all of our members that are finding out about FinCEN, not for the first time, but they've heard a few times. But it is coming down the pike in like less than a week.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if I get into a contract let's say I'm the buyer's agent and my buyer's buying it in a family trust. And I get into a contract and they're paying cash and my buyer says, I'm not filling this out. Like, I'm simply not going to do it. Someone out there is that's going to happen. Someone out there is going to be like, I'm not filling this out. What happens? There's no S where the clauses.
Not going to close. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the fines for this, especially if it's willful or you're true, like just out and out negligent in doing it, are very considerable. And honestly, our fees wouldn't touch the fines. So we wouldn't be able to accommodate. And if you find a company that says they will, you as the realtor, I'd probably really question that.
Because ultimately, you're the reporter. You're the person who needs to send that in to that department to verify that was done.
Right.
Okay.
I have another question, actually, because this is super interesting to me. So you have all this paperwork that boils it down to the ultimate beneficial owner.
Correct.
Is that public?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not. And FinCEN's website, where we then compile the information we upload to them directly, that is absolutely not publicly available. It's a warrant, and the federal agencies that have access, it's all by warrant only.
Okay.
So no, it is absolutely.
I think that's very good to know that
Yeah.
our here in Washoe County and in all the counties that we serve, it's still going to say the name of the LLC. It's just someone up the chain, Uncle Sam, knows who that LLC is.
And the certification, the documents have what's called a reasonable reliance standard. So for our industry, if it was a big win to get that from them, because if we get the info and your customer completes it, we have no obligation other than to review and see that they didn't put Donald Duck, and I'm looking at Garrett signing.
Right.
That we just rely on what you gave us and certified by your electronic signature or in person. If you come in, we do not have to go back and say, are you really? Thankfully. So there is that standard. And as long as the person submits it to us, we don't go back in and look and verify other than to check names. And know that if Garrett's the signer, he's here signing, that it's not you, but all of our documents have your name. Then we would have a duty to say, okay, we got to look at this now.
Nice top level read.
Yes. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay.
So you said something a little bit ago that I think is important for people to hear too. This rolls out on March 1st.
Yes.
March 1st is a
For
Sunday
closing.
for closings. So we're not closing escrow on Sundays. No title company does that. But let's say I have a deal in escrow that's closing on March 12th. That's a cash deal. When I put it in contract, this was not in place. This was not the law of the land. But if I want to close on March 12th, am I going to have to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that one of the things you may want to do as an agent, look what's in your pipeline. And if you do have something that maybe isn't going to go until the end of March, I would just double check that. I've recommended that I know we will have something in our escrow documents for everyone to sign, but I would recommend you get an addendum. Hey, this transaction may be reportable and both sides agree to provide the info.
Love it.
That's fantastic. Love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other important part about the hypothetical scenario that I threw out there, that buyer who says, I'm not going to fill this information out, there's ramifications because this is going to be part of our purchase agreement.
Correct.
And in that purchase agreement, if I don't follow through on that, it would be just like a seller saying, there's no inspector coming to my house to inspect my house, or I'm not letting the appraiser in. You've defaulted on the contract. You've breached the contract, and there's ramifications for that. So that's, I think, an important part for people to understand as well, of course. Hey, any other things that we missed that you think are important that people should know?
I don't think so. Just closing after March 1, cash, buyer to an entity. And both sides, seller and buyer, have to complete info, The only other thing we didn't really talk about, if it is a seller carryback or an assumption, a subject to, those are considered cash. If you're dealing with a private money lender, depending on their status, if they generally have like a NMLS number, and they have anti-money laundering and suspicious activity, so AML-SAR reporting requirements on them to remain licensed, then we can exempt it. But if it's just a 1 or 2 a year private money lender, it is considered cash.
That's really
It's very good to know.
So next time I go ask my grandma for money, I'm gonna have to tell her, hey, you got to fill out a bunch of paperwork.
Your grandma charges you interest.
The wish.
Actually, for the lender, the other thing we didn't talk about that's new with this over the GTOs, the geographical targeting orders, is the money, all money that comes through escrow. So if it's 5 deposits, we have to have the bank account, bank name, account number, and the amount deposited on that form to come in. So if it's private money, the only piece of it they have to give us is just the banking info. We don't have to dig way down, thankfully, into their organization, but we do have to report the funds, and they have to be willing to give us the bank. And again, those are things that for us, we don't always see. You know, you've seen people walk in with a cashier's check, and half the time they don't even have a name. They'll have the bank. So from there, we're going to have to say, okay, that's great, thank you, but we need your bank name, the account number, the funds.
Routing number, all that kind of stuff.
Just account number, bank name, and the amount.
So those days of showing up to closing with a big old suitcase full of money,
That has never happened.
somewhere it's happened for sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, back in the day, if that would have happened and it was over 10 grand cash, we had to do a suspicious activity report filing with the IRS.
Interesting.
But we way back when I was with Western Title, we had installment collection department on the notes and deeds of trust, and someone brought cash and we got robbed. It was a setup, we feel, but regardless, we all sort of stopped taking cash.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's reasonable.
I got a funny real estate story along those lines. I was doing a transaction with a client of mine. This was years ago, probably close to 18 years ago. And she was selling her house and selling an apartment complex that she had. Yeah. And she was going to get a nice little chunk of change at the end of that. And she was serious. And this lady, she was smart. She was sharp. She knew what she was doing. And she was dead serious. And she says, Garrett, I want a suitcase full of money when I walk out of the title company on closing day. And I laughed because I thought she was joking with me. And she looked at me dead serious. I'm like, oh, you're serious? And she goes, yes, I want cash when I walk out of the title company. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Why not? And we had to explain all of these things. So FinCEN, at least now, I having a good excuse to hang a hat on moving forward, that you just don't get suitcases full of cash because they got to track it all now.
What is cash anyway anymore?
Paper.
Right?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you coming in here,
Absolutely.
dropping some knowledge on us. I'm sure as this rolls out in the next few months, maybe we'll have you back as we get some stuff that pops up that maybe we weren't aware of. Sure. Some little hiccups in the pipeline that happens, and we can help smooth that out a little bit.
Yes, we're going through that now. Every morning I have escrow. I have this deal. It's like, okay,
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Thanks so much.
I'll give it.
Okay.
And we can do a class again too if need be. So,
We definitely will have some classes here at the association. And remember, all your classes are free this year at Sierra Nevada Realtors. We will have some classes around FinCEN. So be on the lookout for those. You can find it on snr.realtor. We'll announce those dates and times along with social media and other places. Thank you for coming in here.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Yeah, very much.
Very much so. Very much so.
All your watchers are like, what?
Thank you, guys. See you next episode.